Welcome back to The Explainer. So if you've been on this journey with us, you know we have spent the last 10 segments taking a deep dive, chapter by chapter, into an amazing guide on AI governance from Virtualization Options LLC. Well, today's the day we zoom out. We're going to connect all the dots and give you that single bird's-eye view, your complete AI governance roadmap. Okay, before we really get going, just a quick heads up. What we're doing here is summarizing the guide. The guide itself, it's really meant to kick off a bigger conversation, you know? Because let's face it, every company is unique, and what works for one might not work for another.
And, the usual legal stuff. Since this is a general overview, there's no warranty expressed or implied. Okay? Housekeeping's done. Let's dive right into this roadmap.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We've got 5 main stops on our journey today. We'll start with the big why this is so critical. And we'll end with the how, the actual nuts and bolts of getting your own program off the ground. Sound good?
All right, first things first. Let's talk about why you absolutely cannot afford to ignore this. Remember when we looked at Chapter 1? The guide really didn't pull any punches. It said, flat out, that when it comes to AI, doing nothing is actually the riskiest move you can possibly make.
I mean, AI is this incredible, powerful tool, right? It opens up so many doors. But, and this is a big but, if you just let it run wild without any rules, the guide makes it super clear you're opening yourself up to some serious headaches. We're talking huge fines, a PR nightmare, or even AI systems that just don't work right, which can really tick off your customers.
But here's the cool part. Good governance isn't just about playing defense and avoiding problems. It's actually a massive value add. I mean, look at this. The guide shows that companies that get this right are seeing real, measurable wins, like cutting down AI-related oopsies by 40% and getting new projects out the door way faster.
So let's talk money for a second, because this is pretty mind-blowing. The guide found that for a whopping 60% of companies, the cost to prevent just one major AI screw-up is actually less than what they spend on their entire governance program for a whole year. Think about that. The ROI is just off the charts.
And it's not just about saving cash, it's about speed. You'd think all these rules would slow you down, right? Nope, it's the opposite. When you have a clear playbook, the guide says you can slash the time it takes to launch new AI tools by up to 35%. It's like adding guardrails to a highway. It lets you go faster, safely.
So you're safer, you're faster, and all of that builds up to the one thing you absolutely cannot buy: trust. When your customers, your partners, your own employees see you're handling AI responsibly, that trust factor can shoot up by 50%. And in today's world, trust is everything. It's the real currency.
Okay, so we've established the why. Now, how do you actually start? This next part takes us back to our look at chapters 2 through 4, and it's all about building a rock-solid foundation.
Remember Chapter 2? The big takeaway was that AI governance is a team sport. This is not something you can just toss over the fence to the IT department. You need a whole leadership board. Your CEO, your tech chief, your risk officer. You even need your top people from data, legal, and HR in the room. You've got to cover all the angles.
Then came Chapter 3, which was all about getting smart with your risk assessment. The key idea here is that not all AI is created equal. You don't need the same level of scrutiny for every single tool. So you create a system. You classify things from minimal risk all the way up to high risk. And that way you focus your energy where it matters most. It's just efficient.
And that brings us to Chapter 4, which was all about setting the rules of the road. This acceptable use policy is a perfect example. What I love about it is how simple and clear it is. It tells your team, hey, go nuts with research, brainstorming, coding, but it also draws a very clear line in the sand. Don't even think about sharing confidential data. It gives freedom within a safe framework. Okay, so the foundation is poured. Now it's time to start building the actual structure. This next phase, which we covered in chapters 5, 6, and 7, is where you take all those great ideas and turn them into real working parts of your business. It's about putting that policy into practice. Chapter 5 was all about the tech side of things. Think of this as your automated security guard. These are the systems that are working 24/7 in the background, enforcing the rules you just set up and flagging anything that looks fishy. You're basically turning your policies into code that runs itself. But it's not all about machines, right? Chapter 6 focused on the people part, the workflows. This means having a clear, step-by-step process for, well, everything. How do you approve a new AI project? How do you vet a new AI vendor? And what exactly happens when something goes wrong? You need a playbook for all of it.
And then,
A really critical piece from Chapter 7, training. The big insight here is that you can't just have one generic training video for everyone. It doesn't work. Your executives need to know about the big picture strategic risks. Your engineers need to get way into the weeds on model fairness and reliability. It's all about giving the right information to the right people so everyone feels confident and empowered. All right, we're on the home stretch. This last part, pulling from chapters 8, 9, and 10, is all about the long game. How do you make sure this program you've built actually lasts? And how do you make sure it keeps up as AI itself changes, which, it does, constantly?
Chapter 8 was all about a classic business saying, what gets measured gets managed. You can't just feel like it's working. You need cold, hard data. Are people following the rules? How are your AI systems actually performing? Are they fair to everyone? You need dashboards and metrics to see what's really going on.
And I think Chapter 9 had one of the most important messages of the whole guide. This is a journey, not a destination. You are not going to get this perfect on day one. Nobody does. The whole point is to build a system that learns and gets better. You learn from mistakes, you get feedback, you adapt. So, really, the most important step is just taking the first one.
And finally, Chapter 10 brought it all home with a super practical, phased roadmap. This isn't a do-everything-at-once kind of deal. The guide lays it all out in these digestible chunks over, say, 18 to 24 months. You start with the foundation, then you build your core capabilities, and you just grow from there. It makes this huge task feel totally achievable.
So there you have it, 10 chapters, one clear map. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that AI governance isn't red tape. It's not a roadblock. It's actually the opposite. It's the launchpad for innovating faster and safer than ever before. It's what lets you really unleash the power of AI. So, looking at this map, the only real question left is, where are you going to start?
And hey, just one last reminder, we've been walking through a summary of the fantastic guide from Virtualization Options LLC. It's really designed to get the ball rolling on a conversation about training that's built just for you, tailored to what your company actually needs.
And of course, since this is an overview, it comes with no warranty. Thank you so much for sticking with us through this whole journey. I hope this roadmap gives you a clear path forward. Thanks for joining us.